Hello and welcome to Julie Hall Designs, where today I'm going to show you how I make this beautiful Trapunto Christmas stocking. To begin with, we're going to look at what we need. And the first thing we need is a beautiful, ideally 100% cotton fabric. And I'm using a seeded homespun here just to give an antique sort of a look. We're also going to need bag foam, and that's that 3 or 4 millimeter foam, as well as wadding. So let's get started. You can see here that I've got my large hoop, and by large hoop I mean I'm using an 11 by 18 inch hoop, and I'm going to come through and stitch out the first colorway, which is the outline of my design. Once we've done that, lay over your bag foam. Now you can use scraps of bag foam here, as I am doing, and if you watch what I do here, I'm just going to take that scrap from one side so that I can use it just to cover up that little dot on the other side. Now, bag foam is really easy to stitch through, but if you are using a machine that doesn't have a presser foot lift on it, you might want to change over to a spring foot for this, because what you don't want is to have any drag. And we're going to come through and stitch out, and it's just the outline. You're not putting any detail in yet because we're going to do that a little bit later on. So let's move over to our workbench, because you want to make sure you are using a flat surface here, and ideally curved scissors, but really strong ones, so my tiny little ones aren't going to work here. And you want to come through and get as close as possible. Now, it doesn't have to be like you're doing applique. So in this, there is, and you can see as you come around, because of the bulk of the foam, there is more leeway here with cutting out. But you want to get the majority of that trimmed through. Notice that my hoop is always remaining flat. I am turning it around, but it is always maintained on a flat surface. And we just come through, and look, take your time on this. It's always better to trim beautifully and have a great project at the end. Once you're happy with your trimming, and I'm just going to come and do the last couple of parts here, we can return our hoop to the machine. And here we want to grab now our wadding and our main fabric. So first layer is going to be placing down that wadding over the outline that we've already stitched. Then I'm going to go in and lay my main fabric on top of that. And at this point, you want to start thinking about what colour you want to use. So for instance, what I wanted to do here was really make sure that my that the first stitch that we do, which is the quilting, was going to meld into the background. So I chose a colour that was exactly the same colour as my fabric. Once you are hooped up, once you're threaded up, return the hoop to the machine, and we can stitch out the next colorway. So that is going to hold that down, and then we're going to start our quilting. And the quilting that I've done here is not only does this make the design, the Trapunto design, pop, but it also just gives a little bit of elegance to behind the design as well. Now, a lot of people get scared when they start doing Trapunto that it is going to all, you know, pucker up and around because you've got the depth of the design underneath. You can see here that's not happening. Because we do that basting stitch and then the quilting, we've actually got a lot of leeway given to us. So we're going to come through, and you can see the swirly quilting design that I've done here just adds that little bit of elegance. And when I was looking at this, what I thought was it was giving almost a look of smoke from our candle. Now, while this is stitching, this is a great time to be picking out the accent colour that you are going to use. I've done a couple of these stockings. I've done them with using a Kingstar metallic thread, which is always stunning. This time, I actually went with a polyester coloured thread. So just a regular poly sewing thread, but in the gold colour. You could also use multi-tonal here, and think of those Fabulux threads that we've got here in stock. Some of those would be absolutely elegant here. Once you finish the quilting, change over to your decorative thread, and you can see my gold colour coming through here. Now, the way that this has been digitized has been to make sure that you are doing the least number of jump stitches. And I always feel almost a little bit bad when or self-congratulatory when I start talking on this one. But it takes me far longer to digitize this so that we don't have those jump stitches, but the effect that we get out of it is so well worth it. Now, where our little holly berries are, there are jump stitches. Absolutely. Okay, and we are now finished our beautiful holly section there. So we're going to come back and do the candle now. Now the candle is the larger section, but it also has more open areas. So you can see that this isn't a massively long stitch. Now, of course, this is sped up because, you know, I don't want to bore you. But you can see just how much detail is added to this stitching as we go along. And it's just looking beautiful. Now, as with all of these designs, you have the option of using a topper and making the Christmas stocking even larger, or of simply doing the size of the design. In this case, I've done it once both ways. So the example that I'm going to show you here is without using the topper, but of course the topper designs are part of the design. Oh, how beautiful is this looking? Okay, so let's come through. And now that that's completed, what I want to do is remove the stabilizer from around the design. It doesn't have to be in all the intricate bits because that's not going to happen. And then trim away the excess wadding. From there, I'm going to get my second piece of fabric, or the backing fabric that I want to use to on my stocking, and I'm just going to hold them together with quilt clips. Now you can cut this out to the exact shape if you wish. I don't do that till after I've finished stitching, but it is totally up to you. And then I've got my machine set for hand stitching, and if you pay attention here, you will notice that I'm stitching just on the inside of where that design has finished stitching, and that's so we don't get the ugly little edge stitches in. Now, if you've got a presser foot that allows you for the presser foot to lift while the needle is down, this is the perfect time to use that, because it means you can manipulate the fabric around the shape. And then once we've done that, we're going to trim away. Take your binding, and I'm using a 2.5 inch binding, and I'm just going to come through and attach that binding around the top of my project. Now, if you've got some bobbles or some bling or whatever else you want to add here, please do feel free. The way that I join my my start and stop fabrics is I leave about 2 inches of fabric coming around here, and then double them over and trim away till I've got sort of a seam allowance, so that 1/4 inch on either side. And then I'm going to join that seam so that we don't have a seam in the binding, and it just gives you a better all over effect. So finger press that seam open and then finish stitching around. Once we've done that, now if you're a hand stitcher, you can absolutely hand stitch. If you want to overlock your seams, you can absolutely do that. This is how I do it. And all I'm doing is then stitching in the ditch so that those seams are not visible. And what we are left with is, so this is my unpainted, elegant, finished, single colour Trapunto Christmas stocking. If you want to then get out your colouring in pencils, this is my stocking with the topper that I've then used fabric paint or fabric medium and finished. Thank you so much for sharing time with us today. I look forward to seeing you next time.